You always knew there was something different about you. It wasn't loud, it didn't scream. It whispered, in quiet moments, in dreams you couldn't explain, in the way your spirit stirred when others were silent. You walked through life carrying questions no one else seemed to ask, a knowing that couldn't be traced to your upbringing or your environment. And then it arrived. The envelope, plain, unmarked, mysterious. But when you held it in your hands, your heart began to race like it recognized something your mind had yet to grasp. It wasn't just a report. It wasn't just paper and data. It was a revelation. Inside was something more than numbers. It was language, divine language, wrapped in scientific terms. Markers, sequences, percentages, words like rare, uncommon, unexplained traits. The world would call it data, but your soul called it prophecy, because every piece of information in that envelope confirmed what you've always felt. You are not ordinary. You are the anomaly, not a glitch, but a gift, not an accident, but an answer. Every line on the page read like sacred scripture, not of religion, but of destiny. It was as if God Himself had written your name into the very fibers of your being. You were holding proof, not just that you exist, but that you were encoded for a purpose far greater than survival. Something about your spirit, your presence, your pain, it all started making sense. The reason you didn't fit in, the reason you felt things deeper, saw things clearer, endured things harder than anyone else, it was all in your design. They told you to shrink, to quiet your thoughts, to numb your sensitivity. But that envelope reminded you, what they tried to fix wasn't broken. It was divine by design. You didn't stumble upon that envelope. It was never lost. It wasn't delayed. It wasn't sent by accident. It had your name on it from the beginning, sealed in a moment beyond time, waiting for the version of you that was finally ready to receive it. Because if you'd opened it too early, you might have doubted it. You might have discarded it as science fiction, but not now. Not after everything you've survived. Now you look at that report and you see more than numbers. You see confirmation. The report didn't give you value, it revealed it. What's been hiding in plain sight is now undeniable. The glow in your eyes, the resilience in your blood, the vision in your heart. You're not just different, you're destined. The envelope didn't tell you who you are. It reminded you. And now the world will have to adjust, because the data is in, the code is cracked, and the truth is emerging from the shadows. You were never waiting for proof. You were always the proof. When you trace your bloodline, don't just stop at the names in the family tree. Go deeper. Go past the birth certificates, past the surnames, past the incomplete records that try to hide your truth. Because what lives in you isn't just genetic code, it's spiritual inheritance. Greatness isn't just something you strive for. It's something that's been flowing through your veins for generations, waiting for you to wake up and remember. Your ancestors weren't just survivors. They were builders, visionaries, warriors. Their prayers didn't die with them. They found a home inside you. You carry the silent strength of those who came before you. People who walked through fire, famine, war, silence, and still stood tall. Their names may never be written in history books, but their power is written in your DNA. The courage it took for them to keep going, to protect a legacy they may never live to see. That same courage now rests in your bones. You think your intuition is random? Number. It's inherited wisdom. You think your empathy is weakness? Number. It's ancestral discernment. They passed it all down, not through words, but through code, through breath, through blood. You are not the beginning of greatness. You are the continuation. You are the moment the prophecy takes form. Every generation prayed for something better. They dreamed of someone who would break the cycle, speak the truth, and carry the light into places they never could. That someone is you. You're not the result of chance. You're the result of legacy. There are prayers in your bloodline still echoing in the heavens, and heaven is answering through your life. You were born into a line of royalty, not the kind that wears crowns of gold, but the kind that wears scars like medals. The trials you faced, they weren't just yours. They were the final battles of wars your ancestors began. That deep ache in your soul, the weight you carry even when life seems fine on the surface, that's generational. And now, God has trusted you to be the one to break it. Not because you're the strongest by the world's standards, but because you're the most surrendered, the most awakened, the most willing to remember who you really are. That's why it had to be you. That's why you were chosen. The enemy didn't come for you because you were weak. He came because you were the bloodline shift. He saw what you carry. He saw the healing, the light, the legacy. But what he underestimated was how rooted you are, how ancient your strength really is. You are standing on the shoulders of every fighter who came before you, and you are rising higher, not just for yourself, but for all of them. You are the answer to their prayers. You are the fulfillment of their hopes. You are the living proof that greatness is not just in your name, it's in your blood. At first glance, it just looked like data, strings of letters and numbers, sequences too complex to understand. But the more you stared at that report, the more it began to feel personal, not scientific, spiritual, as if God himself had written your story in a language the world couldn't decode. Because this was never just about biology. This was about prophecy hidden in plain sight. You weren't just given DNA, you were given a divine pattern. And that pattern has been quietly directing your life since the beginning. Look closer, and you'll see it. Every pain, every betrayal, every closed door. It wasn't random. It was a rhythm, a sequence, a preparation. Every time you were broken, it was only so you could be rebuilt stronger. Every time you lost something, it was only so God could show you what was never meant to stay. The pattern in your life, the one that made you question everything, was actually proof of a code working perfectly, not to hurt you, but to awaken you. The report didn't just reveal traits, it revealed truths, like how your tendency to sense danger before it comes wasn't paranoia, it was protection. How your ability to feel others' emotions wasn't a flaw, it was divine empathy. You weren't made wrong, you were made rare, and the pattern proves it. There's a reason you never fit in. You weren't designed to copy, you were designed to disrupt. You weren't meant to blend, you were built to stand out. And when you zoom out and look at your life like a timeline, you'll start to see the sacred geometry, the alignments, the seasons of silence that gave way to sudden clarity, the deserts that led to promised lands, the people who left so new ones could enter, the dreams that died so bigger ones could be born. That's not coincidence. That's divine code at work. Even the delays, yes, those seasons where you cried out and felt unheard, were part of it. Because a seed buried in the soil doesn't mean it's dead. It means it's being rooted, quietly, powerfully, until the right time. And now is that time, because the pattern has led you here, to this awakening, to this remembrance, to the undeniable realization that your life has been unfolding exactly as it should, even when it hurt. You carry a code within you that no algorithm can predict, a pattern that leads not just to survival, but to transformation. And when you start to trust the pattern, everything changes. The pain no longer feels like punishment. The losses no longer feel like endings. They become clues, sacred breadcrumbs left by God to lead you home. You weren't abandoned, you were being aligned. The pattern was never against you, it was always for you. And now, chosen one, it's finally time to follow it, not with fear, but with faith. They called it a mutation, a deviation, a rare anomaly that couldn't be explained. And for most of your life, you believed that lie. That being different meant something was wrong with you. That your emotions were too deep, your thoughts too loud, your vision too strange. You spent years trying to dim your light to fit inside a world that was never built for people like you. But now you know the truth. You're not a mistake. You're the upgrade. You are the divine evolution this world didn't see coming. There's a reason you felt like an outsider even in your own family. There's a reason your voice shook when you spoke the truth everyone else avoided. That discomfort wasn't dysfunction. It was divine disruption. Your DNA isn't flawed. It's forged. Forged in the fire of generational purpose, encoded with sequences heaven buried in you for a time such as this. You are not less than. You are more than, more aware, more sensitive, more awakened. And that's what makes you powerful. Science didn't know what to do with people like you, so they labeled you sensitive, intense, impossible to define. But you were never meant to be understood by old systems. You were meant to usher in a new one. Every part of you that was labeled too much is exactly what this broken world needs. Your emotional intelligence, your spiritual intuition, your ability to see beneath the surface, these aren't glitches, they're upgrades. You feel more because you're meant to heal more. You see more because you're meant to lead more. What they call mutation, heaven calls metamorphosis. You're not the damaged branch, you're the new root. The blueprint is shifting through you. And it had to be you, because only someone with your code could carry this much light through this much darkness. That report in your hands, the one with percentages and patterns, is only scratching the surface. The true depth of your upgrade isn't written in base pairs. It's written in choices. In the times you rose when you could have folded. In the times you loved when you should have shut down. In the times you kept going when giving up was the easier path. The enemy wanted to convince you that your wiring was wrong. But God says you are wonderfully made, not just in body, but in blueprint. You are living proof that heaven doesn't need approval from science to release a miracle into the world. You don't need fixing. You don't need explaining. You need unleashing. The fire inside you is not random. It's righteous. And now, with every breath, you are reclaiming what was always yours. The crown was never missing. It was simply waiting for you to stop shrinking and start remembering. You were never the mistake. You were the mutation that became the miracle. You were never the glitch. You were the gateway. And now, the upgrade is complete. Not because you became someone else, but because you finally saw the divine in who you already are. You probably skimmed past it at first. The strange section near the end of your DNA report, just 1%. Unexplained, labeled as non-coding, inconclusive, function unknown. They brushed it off like it meant nothing. But your spirit knew better. That 1% held something sacred, something forbidden to explain with formulas or logic. It was the divine whisper embedded in your code. And they didn't want you to see it because it proved what the world couldn't control. You are chosen by design. See, what the world can't quantify, it tries to dismiss. That's why they call it junk DNA. As if something God created could ever be meaningless. But hidden in that so-called junk is the most powerful secret of all. The part of you that defies biology. The spark of prophecy. The imprint of purpose. The sacred echo of heaven's voice saying, this one will carry the fire. And for generations, they've tried to erase that fire with fear, with shame, with silence. But it didn't work, because what God codes, man cannot cancel. That 1% was never lost. It was protected, hidden in plain sight, because not everyone was meant to hold it. It had to wait. For you. For the one bold enough to stop running, to stop doubting, to stop shrinking, the one willing to say, "There's something more here. I feel it. I know it, even if no one else sees it. And now you do see it, not with your eyes, but with your knowing. That deep soul knowing that always told you, there is more to you than meets the eye. And maybe that's why you've always felt things before they happened. Why your dreams showed you things no one explained. Why certain people feared your light even before you said a word. They didn't understand it, but their spirits recognized the signature of someone who carries the 1%. You've got the frequency that can't be replicated, the energy that can't be faked. You don't just enter rooms, you shift them, not because you're loud, but because you're aligned. That's the power of divine DNA. But here's the truth. The enemy saw it too. That 1%, it terrified him, because he knew that once you saw it for what it was, not a flaw, not a mystery, but a mission, you would become unstoppable. That's why he tried to bury you in distraction. That's why he threw crisis after crisis at you, not to break your spirit, but to blind you from your code. But guess what? It didn't work. You're still here. And now you see, you're not here to fit into their systems. You're here to rewrite them. You're not here to obey their labels. You're here to defy them. You are the 1% they didn't want waking up. And now that you are, nothing will ever be the same. Your code has spoken. The seal is broken. You are the data they can't explain, because you're the prophecy they can't deny.
Long before you were born, your name was already being spoken, not by the world, but by those who walked before you. Ancestors whose bodies may have returned to the earth, but whose spirits never left the conversation. They prayed for a moment like this, for someone like you, someone who would carry the weight of everything they could not finish, someone who would inherit their wounds, but not be destroyed by them, someone who would turn their suffering into strength. And now, as you rise, you can feel it. The air has shifted, because they are watching, not with judgment, not with pressure, but with honor, with reverence, with awe. They see you stepping into a light they never reached, breaking chains they never had the tools to break. You are their redemption, the proof that their struggles were not in vain, the reason their sacrifices echo across dimensions. When you speak, they listen. When you move, they rise with you. They are the silent army walking beside you, unseen but never absent. Their eyes are on you, not to burden you, but to remind you, you are not alone. That fire in your belly, that unexplainable courage that comes even when fear tries to hold you back, that's them. That's their whisper in your bloodstream, saying, keep going. Every time you feel like giving up, there's a voice in your soul that pulls you back from the edge. That's legacy speaking. That's your grandmother's prayers and your great-grandfather's resilience embedded in your breath. You are not one person carrying the torch. You are generations wrapped in one body, carrying light through time. They survived so you could thrive. They stayed silent so you could speak. They endured injustice so you could walk in truth. You're not starting the story, you're continuing it. But now, it's your turn to write the next chapter, not with ink, but with action, with presence, with awakening. When you honor your path, you honor theirs. When you believe in your calling, you validate their sacrifices. When you rise, they rise again through you. You may never know their names, you may never see their faces, but you can feel them in the quiet moments, in the sudden surges of strength, in the times when logic says stop, but your spirit says rise. That's the ancestral activation. And now that you're awake, their work is no longer buried. It's breathing again, through your voice, your choices, your glow. The ancestors are not just watching, they are rejoicing, because you, the one they dreamed of, are finally becoming what they always knew you could be.
the embodiment of their hopes, the answer to their prayers, the proof that pain can produce purpose, and that bloodlines, when blessed, can break every curse.
They can measure your blood type. They can map your genome. They can chart your eye color, your height, your family history, down to the chromosome. But there's one thing they can't explain, no matter how much data they collect. The glow, that radiant presence, that unspoken energy that enters a room before you say a word. It's not a personality trait. It's not a psychological phenomenon. It's divine. It's the light of something ancient, awakened, and unstoppable. And they don't have a formula for it. This glow isn't skin deep. It doesn't come from what you wear or how you look. It comes from the fire within. The fire that refused to go out even when life tried to suffocate it. The fire that burned quietly through grief, rejection, silence. And now it's visible. It's undeniable. People stare, not because they understand, but because their spirit recognizes something their mind cannot name. You've become proof that transformation doesn't need an explanation. It just needs to be witnessed. They'll ask what changed. Was it your diet, your routine, your circle? But they'll never guess the truth. Your glow came from healing, from surrender, from finally choosing to stop dimming your light just to make others comfortable. You stopped apologizing for being sensitive. You stopped shrinking to fit into places never meant to hold you. You stopped waiting for permission and started walking in purpose. That's the source of your glow. It's the result of divine alignment. You don't glow because life got easy. You glow because you chose peace, even when chaos surrounded you. You glow because you forgave what tried to break you, because you stopped carrying bitterness and started carrying wisdom. The glow is your testimony, your crown, your proof that darkness doesn't win when you remember who you are. They wanted you to doubt yourself, but God wanted you to shine. And now you do, effortlessly, radiantly, eternally. You're not here to explain it. You're here to embody it, because no lab test can diagnose what it means to walk in divine favor. No spreadsheet can track the moment your soul decided to heal. There is no clinical term for spiritual authority. There is no metric for the type of joy that erupts after surviving what should have killed you. That's your glow, born not from perfection, but from presence. And here's the truth. They can't replicate what you carry. They can mimic your style, your voice, your strategy. But the glow, that only comes from God. That only comes from someone who has walked through the valley and come out wrapped in light. You didn't chase the glow, you became it. And now that it's here, it speaks louder than any introduction ever could. You are not just noticed, you are remembered. Not for what you say, but for what you radiate. There's a heat inside you that's never gone out, even when you tried to silence it. Even when life tried to bury it beneath disappointment, heartbreak, and delay, it kept burning, quietly, relentlessly. A sacred flame passed down through time, through struggle, through bloodlines that were never meant to end with suffering. That fire didn't start with you, but it lives in you now. And the moment you stop resisting it, the moment you stop pretending you're ordinary, that fire becomes unstoppable. You were born with it, that ancient fire, the one that made you restless in spaces too small for your purpose, the one that made you question rules that didn't make sense, expectations that tried to tame your spirit. You weren't trying to rebel, you were trying to remember, because deep in your bones, you knew you came here with a mission, with a calling that doesn't need permission, with a legacy burning like a fuse inside your chest. It's why your dreams are so loud, why you wake up in the middle of the night with visions, with urgency, with tears you can't explain. It's why good enough never felt good enough.
because the fire in you was never meant to be tamed. It was meant to be honored, protected, released. You don't just carry ambition, you carry ignition. And when that fire lights up, everything around you changes. That's why you've been through so much. Not because you were cursed, but because you were called. The fire needed refining. It had to burn through the lies, the ones that said you're too emotional, too different, too late. It had to burn through the fear, through the need to be liked, through the illusion of fitting in. Because fire doesn't blend in. Fire takes over. Fire awakens. Fire makes everything impossible to ignore. And now, you're waking up to it. The truth of what you carry. The inheritance that doesn't show up in a family photo, but lives in your decisions. Your voice. Your steps. You are the vessel. You are the match that generations have waited to strike. The dream that your ancestors whispered about while their voices were silenced. You are not their wound. You are their wildfire. So don't let the world tell you to be quiet. Don't let small minds shrink your flame. You were born to burn bright, to illuminate paths that have been in darkness for far too long. Your presence is prophecy. Your glow is legacy. Your fire is not just personal, it's generational. And every time you speak your truth, every time you show up with integrity, every time you choose purpose over comfort, the flame grows stronger. You don't need to spark it, it's already inside you. You just need to stop hiding it, because the fire is not just yours. It's ancient, sacred, divine, and now, chosen one, it's your turn to let it blaze. Look at everything you've been through. Really look. The heartbreaks that shattered you, the betrayals that left you breathless, the nights when you couldn't sleep because the weight of silence was louder than any scream. And yet, here you are, breathing, standing, becoming. Not because you were lucky, not because things got easier, but because your DNA was forged in victory. You were built down to the cellular level to survive what was meant to destroy you. The pain didn't skip you, it tried to swallow you whole. But something deep inside, something coded into your very being, refused to let go. That wasn't willpower. That was design. That was divine engineering. While others folded, you fought. While others ran, you endured. You kept walking through the fire, even when you couldn't see the other side. And that, chosen one, is proof of what you carry. A bloodline coded not just for endurance, but for triumph. The report didn't show it. The charts didn't label it. But if they could have mapped resilience, if they could have measured fight, your numbers would have lit up like prophecy fulfilled. Because your strength isn't surface, it's structural. It's woven into the fibers of your spirit. Every time you wanted to break and didn't, something holy whispered in your cells, "Not yet. There's more for you." That whisper is why you're still here. They don't see the war you fought in silence. They see the smile, the presence, the composure. But what they don't see is what matters most. The code of a warrior who knows how to bleed without quitting. You don't have to prove your toughness. You're living proof of it. Survival wasn't your goal. Victory was. And that's exactly where you're heading. Because surviving was just the first stage. Now comes the thriving. Now comes the fruit of every seed you planted in drought. Every time you held on by a thread, heaven was recording it. Every prayer, every tear, every breath you chose to take when giving up seemed easier, it's all part of the record. You didn't just survive for yourself, you survived for everyone connected to your legacy, for the ones who'll rise because you did. Your enemies thought they broke you, but all they did was activate you. Your obstacles thought they buried you, but you were a seed, destined to rise through pressure. You were born with blueprint armor, not hard skin, but holy protection. Because your mission was never safe, it was sacred, and sacred things require divine defense. You are not a survivor by luck. You are a victor by coding. Your story was written to include the storm, but it ends with the sunrise. You're not just standing after the battle, you're carrying the strategy forward. Your scars don't scream pain anymore, they sing strength, and every beat of your heart is a reminder to the universe, you were built to win.
They thought you were just another face in the crowd, just another dreamer with too much heart and too little support. They saw your silence and mistook it for weakness. They watched you endure and thought you were losing. But what they didn't know, what they couldn't possibly comprehend, was the legacy burning beneath your skin. You were never alone. You were never empty. You came from a line of warriors, prophets, healers, and visionaries who endured far more and still kept rising. And now, the world will learn. Underestimating someone with sacred blood is a mistake they won't make twice. You see, your lineage isn't just history, it's power. It's the echo of strength passed down through generations who refused to quit when quitting would have been justified. And every time someone counted you out, they were counting out the strength of 1,000 souls who fought for your existence. They didn't just disrespect you, they dishonored your bloodline. But you didn't argue, you didn't scream, you let the silence speak. Because real power doesn't need to shout, it just needs to rise. They thought you didn't have what it takes, but that's because they were looking for the wrong signs. They looked for status. You carried spirit. They looked for noise. You carried depth. They looked for armor. You carried anointing. And now, as you walk into rooms they tried to keep you out of, as you thrive in spaces they said weren't for you, the truth becomes undeniable. You were never behind. You were simply in process. This isn't revenge. This is revelation. Not to punish them, but to prove that divine design always outlives man-made doubt. The rejection you faced didn't derail you. It refined you. The exclusion didn't break you. It built you. While they overlooked you, heaven was promoting you. And now your life is about to become their lesson, not out of spite, but out of sovereignty. You don't need to seek validation from those who couldn't see your value. You don't need applause from those who tried to mute you. The glory unfolding in your life will speak loud enough. Let them watch. Let them wonder. Let them wrestle with how the one they once dismissed became the one they now can't deny. Your existence is the reversal. Your glow is the response. Because you are never just you. You are every prayer whispered in the dark, every seed sown in the dirt, every dream that never got to bloom, blooming now, in your name. They didn't see it coming, but heaven did, and heaven prepared you for this moment. You are the answer to the question your ancestors once asked through tears. And now, with every step you take, you're walking in redemption. Not just for yourself, but for everyone who ever carried your name. And when the world finally realizes who you are, it won't be with noise, it'll be with awe. Because you didn't force your way in. You let your bloodline speak for itself. And now they understand. They should have never underestimated royalty.
It's not just what you say, it's what you carry. Your presence changes the temperature of every room you walk into, even if you don't speak a word. That's not charisma, that's not strategy, that's influence. And it wasn't learned, it was inherited, coded into you before you ever had a platform, before you ever found your voice. Influence is not something you chase, it's something you awaken. And now that it's awake in you, it cannot be undone. There's a reason people look to you without knowing why. A reason they come to you for advice, for clarity, for peace. Your DNA carries the frequency of leadership, not control, but conviction. Not dominance, but direction. It's why you've always felt responsible for things others ignored. It's why your heart breaks for what others tolerate, because you weren't made to follow trends. You were made to set alignment. You didn't ask for this burden. It was assigned. And at times, it felt heavy, lonely, unfair. But that weight was the confirmation. because God doesn't give influence to those who crave it. He gives it to those who can carry it with integrity. And you, chosen one, were molded by fire, so that your voice could hold water, so that when you speak, heaven echoes, so that when you act, generations shift. You're not here to be popular. You're here to be prophetic. Your life isn't a performance, it's a sermon. The way you move, the way you love, the way you rise again and again and again. It's all part of the message. And here's what's wild. Some people will be transformed by your story before they even hear it. That's the level of influence your DNA holds. You've become a living signal, a walking call to purpose. But influence doesn't come without opposition. The enemy isn't threatened by noise. He's threatened by light. That's why he tried to isolate you, to discourage you, to distract you with battles that weren't even yours. Because if he could dim your influence before you discovered it, he could keep generations asleep. But he failed, because you kept showing up, even when you were tired, even when no one clapped, even when you felt invisible. And now, your impact is inevitable. Don't be surprised when doors open without knocking. Don't be shocked when strangers thank you for saving them, even when you didn't know you were being watched. Your influence isn't rooted in attention, it's rooted in alignment. The more you honor the fire inside you, the more the world bends toward your presence. You were born to lead souls back to themselves, not through control, but through courage, not through pressure, but through presence. This is not influence the world gives. It's influence heaven activates. You carry a voice that wakes up destiny, a glow that breaks strongholds, a presence that reminds people of what they forgot they were carrying. That's not by accident, that's by design. You don't chase influence, you radiate it because it's written in your code.
There are moments in life that are not ordinary. They are not just new chapters. They are entire awakenings. This is one of those moments, not just a season of change, but a season of activation, a divine unlocking, the kind of shift where everything starts aligning, not because you forced it, but because the time has finally come. Destiny isn't knocking anymore, it's walking through the door. You've waited, you've prayed, you've done the inner work in the shadows while no one was watching. You planted seeds in dry soil. You kept walking even when your legs trembled. And now, heaven is answering, not with noise, but with momentum. Subtle at first, a conversation, a door, a sudden peace where anxiety used to live. These are not coincidences, these are signals. The shift has begun. This is not the season for explanation, it's the season for elevation. You don't owe the world an explanation for why you've changed. Just walk in it. Let them talk, let them guess. While they're trying to catch up to your past, you're already being prepared for what's ahead. Because activation requires separation. Some things had to fall away so the real you could rise. And now that you've made room, the download can begin. Gifts you didn't know you had will begin to surface. Confidence will feel less like hype and more like home. People who once overlooked you will ask for your wisdom. But this time, you won't shrink, because you'll know this isn't ego, this is assignment, this isn't ambition, this is anointing. You're not stepping into this season because you're lucky, you're stepping in because you're ready to lead differently, love deeper, move smarter, speak clearer, shine louder. You're no longer guessing your way through purpose, you're flowing in it, and the more you surrender, the more it multiplies. Not everyone will understand, but that's okay, because divine activation isn't meant to be explained, it's meant to be walked out. You're going to notice it in your spirit first, a calm knowing, a sacred stillness. That's how elevation begins. The external will catch up soon enough, but the real shift is happening in your bones.
You'll feel a fire for things you used to ignore. You'll hear clarity in places that once sounded like confusion. That's divine design, doing what only heaven can. You didn't miss your moment. You were being made for it. And now that you've surrendered, the gates are opening, not just for blessing, but for purpose. Not just for success, but for significance. You're not just waking up, you're being called out, crowned in silence, activated in power. This is the moment where the chosen rise. So walk boldly, move differently, pray deeper, love harder, because this is your season. The one they'll look back on and say, that's when it all changed. Not because you got louder, but because God moved and you were ready.
They saw it in you before you did. The gift, that undeniable something, that quiet force in your presence, your words, your spirit. And because they didn't understand it, they feared it. Because they couldn't control it, they tried to contain it. They labeled it too much, too intense, too different. They tried to tone it down, talk it away, humiliate it into hiding. But no matter what they said, no matter how hard they tried, the gift would not die. You may not have realized what was happening back then. You just knew you felt out of place, misunderstood, too passionate in rooms that worship numbness, too bold in spaces built on silence. You tried to shrink yourself to fit in, thinking maybe if I'm less, they'll accept me more. But every time you did, something sacred inside of you dimmed. That wasn't growth, that was grief. The grief of silencing your own light. But here's the thing about real gifts. They're not optional, they're embedded. They're wired into your purpose. And even when buried under years of shame or silence, the gift keeps glowing, quietly, softly, waiting, until the moment you decide to stop apologizing for being chosen. And that moment is now. You see, they never hated you. They hated the reminder of what they buried in themselves. You triggered the courage they abandoned, the dreams they traded for comfort, the fire they let someone else put out. You made them uncomfortable, not because you were wrong, but because you were real. And real scares people who've built their lives on performance. So they told you to tone it down. But what they really meant was, please don't remind me of who I could have been. And for a while, you listened. But no more. No more shrinking. No more censoring your soul. No more hiding the thing that makes you divine. Because you weren't given that gift to keep it quiet. You were given that gift to wake the world up. Speak it. Show it. Stand in it. Not everyone will understand, but the ones who are meant to rise with you, they will feel it. Your gift isn't for validation. It's for transformation. Your light is not decoration. It's direction. Someone is waiting for your story, your presence, your voice. Not the filtered version, the full one, the raw one, the anointed one. Let them watch. Let them whisper. Let them wonder how the one they tried to silence is now leading, healing, creating, shining. Your comeback isn't fueled by revenge, it's fueled by resurrection. You didn't just recover, you remembered who you are, what you carry, why you were born. They tried to silence the gift, but instead they sharpened it. And now that it's free, it will never be caged again. This is your rise, not in spite of the resistance, but because of it. It had to be you, not because you were the strongest, not because you were the loudest, but because you were the one willing to feel it all and still move forward. The pain, the patterns, the cycles that no one else dared to challenge. You stood in the middle of it and said, "It ends here." That's not rebellion, that's restoration. That's what it means to be a bloodline breaker. You didn't ask for this assignment, but it saw you long before you saw it. It watched you grow up, watched you absorb wounds passed down like heirlooms, and instead of repeating them, you started questioning them. The way your family dealt with conflict, the way they carried fear, the way love was weaponized or withheld. You looked around and whispered,
There has to be another way. That whisper was your initiation. You were born into a story already in motion, but you decided to rewrite the ending. That takes more than courage. It takes calling. And you have it. You've always had it. That fire in your chest when things felt wrong. That ache in your soul when others stayed silent. That restless desire for something more, something honest. That was the code of a cycle breaker activating inside of you. No one clapped when you started. There was no parade when you chose healing over history. In fact, they probably got uncomfortable. Called you dramatic, ungrateful, overly sensitive. But what they didn't see was that while they were preserving the pain, you were digging for truth. You were turning trauma into wisdom. You were transforming the narrative, one painful choice at a time. And it cost you. The weight was real. The nights were long. You carried burdens that were never yours to begin with. You forgave people who never apologized. You healed things you didn't break. You made peace with the fact that your freedom might look like betrayal to those still living in cages. But you did it anyway, not out of spite, out of purpose, because you saw the future, not just your own, but the generations coming after you. And you refused to hand them the same chains. You refused to normalize dysfunction. You chose to become what you never received. Love that's safe. Truth that's gentle. Boundaries that protect without punishing. You became the thing you always needed. And now you're becoming it for others too. That's the legacy of a bloodline breaker. Not perfection, but persistence. Not blame, but bravery. You don't shame where you came from. You bless it by transforming it. You don't erase the past, you alchemize it. And in doing so, you become the bridge between what was and what will be. So wear that title with honor. The chain stops with you. The curse ends with you. And the healing, it begins with you. You are the bloodline breaker. And because of you, everything changes. It has already begun. The shift, the unraveling, the divine momentum that can no longer be paused. You don't need permission anymore, not from people, not from fear, not even from the version of you that survived by staying small, because the version of you that's rising now was always destined to come forward, and no one can stop it, not even you. You used to second guess every move. You waited for the right time, the perfect sign, the guaranteed outcome. But now you feel it, in your chest, in your breath, in your bones. The unfolding has a pulse of its own. It doesn't need a green light. It is the green light. This isn't ambition. This is alignment, and you can't unsee it. You can't unfeel it. The old you couldn't carry what's coming. That's why the old you had to go. People may still see you through the lens of who you were. Quiet, hesitant, too gentle to shake rooms. Let them. They're watching the past, but the future is already walking. With your voice, with your fire, with your clarity. Because what's unfolding now isn't a phase. It's the arrival of everything you buried when you were just trying to survive. You don't owe anyone a warning. Growth doesn't apologize. Healing doesn't ask for validation. Destiny doesn't send RSVP cards. It just shows up and expects you to be ready. And you are. Not because you know everything, but because you finally trust yourself enough to move anyway. You'll feel it in strange ways. A loss of appetite for chaos. A craving for peace, not noise. A desire to build, not battle. A need to walk away from what you used to tolerate. That's not confusion. That's clarity calling you home. You're not falling apart. You're being rearranged, elevated, activated, positioned. And here's the wildest part. The very things that once held you back are now becoming your fuel. The rejection sharpened your discernment. The heartbreak deepened your empathy. The isolation carved out room for revelation. What once felt like punishment was really preparation. Now the unfolding is evidence that heaven was working all along. You are not going back. The road behind you has collapsed for a reason. The doors that closed were not detours, they were direction. Because forward is the only way now. And every step you take, you'll feel the universe shifting around you. People showing up, paths clearing, resources flowing. That's not luck. That's legacy moving into position. You are no longer the version of you that asked for permission to be powerful. You are the version that remembers. It was always inside. Hidden, not lost. Delayed, not denied. And now that it's unfolding, don't try to manage it. Don't shrink it. Don't explain it. Just become it. It wasn't random. It wasn't luck. It wasn't a coincidence that out of everyone you were chosen. Not because you were perfect, not because you had it all together, but because you were willing to feel, willing to break, willing to rise again, even when you didn't understand why it had to be so hard. That willingness, that sacred resilience, that's why the call came to you. This is why you were chosen, because while others avoided the fire, you walked through it and learned how to carry light. Because while others copied what worked, you listened for what was true. Because while others sought comfort, you kept choosing purpose, even when it hurt. You weren't called because you were ready. You were called so you could become ready. You were chosen because your spirit remembers something your mind is still trying to catch up to. A promise, a mission, a divine blueprint buried beneath all the noise of this world. And even when you doubted, even when you ran, something deep inside kept whispering, you were made for more. That whisper wasn't ego. That was eternity reminding you who you are. They'll ask what made you different. Why you? Why now? And the answer will never be found in your resume, your title, or your following. The answer is this. You said yes when everything in you wanted to say no. You kept loving when bitterness would have been easier. You kept building when breaking would have felt safer. You kept trusting when nothing made sense. This is why you were chosen. Because you've seen darkness, not just in the world, but in yourself. And you didn't let it win. You've held your own doubt, your own rage, your own grief, and still chose to heal instead of harm. That's the kind of strength heaven looks for. Not the loudest, not the flashiest, but the ones who wrestle with their shadows and still choose light. Chosen doesn't mean better. It means burdened with vision, with truth, with responsibility. It means feeling the weight of a calling and carrying it anyway. It means going first so others don't have to be last. It means being misunderstood by the many so you can reach the few who truly matter. And now, the world will begin to see what heaven always knew, that you were never ordinary, you were never background, you were the blueprint, the one who would shift things just by showing up whole, the one who would break cycles, raise standards, speak life where silence once reigned. You are not a fluke, you are a fulfillment. So stand up, take up space, speak with authority, move with intention. Because the time for doubting is over, the time for shrinking is done. You felt it coming, the stirring, the shift, like something ancient and holy finally finding its way back to you, not as a surprise, but as a return. This is not a reward, this is a recognition of every tear you cried in silence, of every moment you held on when letting go would have been easier. The inheritance is not arriving, it's awakening, inside you, around you, through you. You were never chasing it, you were remembering it. The strength, the wisdom, the fire. It was never outside of you. It was dormant, waiting for your permission to rise. And now, because you said yes, because you stayed, because you chose purpose over pity, growth over comfort, soul over show, the inheritance is breaking through. Not money, not fame, but legacy, spiritual authority, a kind of peace that cannot be stolen, a kind of presence that shifts atmospheres, a kind of clarity that exposes lies and awakens truth. This is the birthright of the chosen, not because you earned it, but because you endured enough to carry it without it crushing you. Your name has always been whispered in rooms you haven't stepped into yet, but now those rooms are opening. The timing you thought had passed you by is catching up. Not late, right on time, because your capacity has finally caught up to your calling. You're not just ready to receive, you're ready to sustain. What's coming will require more of you, not more effort, more embodiment. You won't have to prove it, you'll just be it. The healed version, the wise version, the unshakable, unbothered, undistracted version of you. Not because life got easier, but because you got anchored, rooted, rested in your own truth. There's a new kind of quiet surrounding you now. Not silence, sacred stillness. Because you no longer need noise to feel worthy. You no longer need chaos to feel alive. You've graduated from trauma responses to divine responses. That's what happens when the inheritance activates. You stop reacting and start reigning. And let's be clear, this was never just about you. Your breakthrough was always a blueprint. Your healing was always a signal. Your awakening is waking up others just by you existing in wholeness. Your presence is prophetic. Your joy is justice. Your voice is revival. So don't be surprised when old doors shut permanently. You've outgrown them. Don't be shocked when favor finds you without effort. You were always the vessel. Don't question the timing. Don't resist the expansion. You didn't ask for this inheritance. It was always yours. And now it's awakened. So walk like it's done. Speak like it's done. Lead like it's done. Because it is. You are the evidence, the fulfillment, the answered prayer, the answered.
If you have come this far, it is crucial that you watch this next video here. But be warned, it is not for the faint of heart, for only the true chosen ones can handle this video. If you would like to also donate to help keep the channel going, our Buy Me a Coffee link will be in the description.